How's it going, everybody? We are back with the second podcast in our series, Millennials Matter. My name is Connor Capps, and back with me again is Mohammad Rashid. Say hi to the people, Mohammad.
Welcome back, everybody, all you millions of listeners.
So we're really excited today to talk. We got a lot of good feedback from the first podcast. It seemed like we gained some traction, and people really seem to enjoy us focusing on the millennial aspect of it. So we thought we would continue with that podcast series. So today we want to talk about something that we think is really important, which is attaining financial freedom and the emotional components that surround that. So what we mean by this is, people typically talk about money as this tangible currency and don't really talk about the embedded emotional attachment that people have with money and kind of the problems associated with it. So really we want to talk about that and then ways to attain financial freedom. And so that's really going to be the focus of this topic today. So Mohammed, whenever somebody asks you, what is attaining financial freedom? What does that mean to you when you think about it?
That's a good question. And it'll mean different things to different people.
Absolutely.
For me, what it means is security. It's knowing every day that, let's say you lose your job, you're going to have investments and income that is going to support you throughout that. Mm-hmm. So it's really what it boils down to, what financial freedom to me means. It's having a passive income that will meet your daily liabilities, your daily expenses.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that you just said right off the bat that really resonates with me is it's about security. Because financial freedom can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We're not implying that means that you're absolutely debt-free or, you've got every loan paid off and now everything coming in the door is income. What we're saying is that you feel like you have enough grasp on your financial situation to where it's not making you stay up at night or you're not losing sleep over this, and that you feel comfortable with where you're at in your financial situation to really do the things that you need to do as well as the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, is how do you feel secure in your financial situation. So I think that's really important when we talk through this about what that means.
And I would just like to add, for me, financial freedom in my own world, that's one of my major goals in life, mm-hmm. is to be able to have that safety and have that peace of mind, knowing that I have investments that will take care of me, investments that we'll talk more in detail about later, but just having something to fall back on and having that safety net in my life.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people view, their finances as, I go to work, I've got this job, and that's what I'm bringing in. And they don't think about other ways that they could either have their money working for them or they may have other sources of income that they've never thought about before.
Exactly.
And I think that's something important that, a lot of the people, the wealthy people in the world are doing a lot of these things that, us commoners don't know about. But if we did, then we could be living a lot more, as you said, secure, or really have a lot more freedom in what we want to do in our lives. And I also think that, the emotions tied to money can cause a lot of issues. You may not be as confident. You may just be worried about it so much that you're not doing what you need to be doing at work or what it needs to happen because you're worried about that next bill coming in. Right. Or, you're worried about how am I going to pay for my next car insurance or things like that. So our goal today is to really talk about different styles of investing or just managing of your money that can hopefully help you achieve. And again, this isn't saying that you're absolutely debt-free or anything. This is just saying that you don't have this scarcity, how am I going to get my next food mindset. We wanted to grow into what we refer to as an abundance mindset. We really think that's very important.
Right, and I really like that point you just made, is getting out of the scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. And that's something a lot we talk about at the E3 Consultants Group. It's hopefully in this podcast we're going to help people realize that there's alternatives and there's options to solely relying on one source of income and being terrified to lose that single job, that single check that you're waiting on.
Exactly. If you're tied to one check coming in the door and you lose that job, like we saw happen in 2008, 2009, then you're already behind the eight ball. And that's the last thing we want our listeners to do, is feel unprepared for the future and what the economy may bring. I mean, we're on one of the longest upswings in the history of our country since '08. So, we need to start preparing ourselves for the what ifs if the market does crash again, or if whatever happens, we need to be ready for that situation. What if I do lose my job? Those kind of things. So that's what this podcast is really going to focus on today, guys.
And that whole where the economy could and might be headed is a whole that could be a whole other podcast.
That podcast could be hours long, yeah, if we got into that. So hopefully we keep this one a little bit shorter.
So I know you have some. I know you've had some insight on how the rich and how many streams of income they have and how they go about investing.
Sure. So what a lot of people probably don't realize is the top 1% of the wealthy in our country have 7 different streams of income coming into their door on average. So what does that mean? Obviously, the first one is going to be their job, right? I mean, CEOs, Wall Street, whatever, they're getting a ton of money from their main job. But what a lot of people don't realize is that is one of 7 sources of income, or more most likely, that these people have that are adding to their daily bank account, and that's why they're living so comfortably. So what does that mean? So there's a difference between what's called active investing and passive investing, which means both within the investment world and outside. So for example, active is going to be more, okay, you go to work and collect your paycheck, and then you're actively managing maybe your investment portfolio that is spinning off either growth through investing or dividends and interest with whatever investments you're using. And those are typically the main ones that we see people have coming into the door. Right there, that's 2 sources of income: their regular job and then their investment spinning off different growth and income. But what people don't realize is that there are a ton of other ways to get rewarded or to gain, to build their asset base that they don't even think about. So, some examples of this may be start buying into real estate. That's my next move that I'm looking into doing. Buying up property and renting it out. I mean, it's very simple. It's definitely a risk. You don't know where the housing market's going to go or what's going to happen. But again, if for some reason I lost my job tomorrow and I knew that I had 10 rentals that I knew were going to pay me a monthly income, I mean, that's just it's financial freedom in itself with just those 2 investments right there. I already know that God forbid something happens to me, and I can't work or something happens at my job, I've already got another source of income. Along with that are dividend paying investments. Not every investment has to be a stock or a bond. I mean, they do pay dividends, some do, and some are growth, but there are alternative investments out there that you can look for that'll spin off, about a 6% return. So again, you come on fall on hard times, this thing's going to keep paying you out. Simple things, we're young, people are starting to get into maybe I want to open a business or I want to do that. Maybe offer, some financial help to your friends that are trying to do those things that'll pay off in the long run. You write a check, they start building this business, all of a sudden you've got passive income coming in the door that you didn't think would be there before. That's just a very simple, or a restaurant or whatever it may be. It's, you don't have to be the face of this company, and yet you're still collecting a paycheck at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Another one would be something as simple as credit cards. If you know anybody that spends every single thing that they purchase on a debit card, they're really losing money to the people that are using credit cards. Mohammed and I both use credit cards because they offer rewards back. You can get ones that give you 3% cash back on what you're purchasing. I mean, I know that sounds minuscule, but guys, that builds up fast. I mean, you've obviously seen things like that. Even a small, if you're going to go into an investment that's getting 5 or 6%, why not get you a credit card that's giving you 3% cash back? I mean, that's just something you're going to buy anyway. In an easy way to, again, that's not necessarily a source of revenue, but that's just another way to be saving more and more money. At-home businesses, you can start, if you're passionate about making something or doing whatever it may be at home, right there, that's a source of income. And also, if you're a salary employee, which many of our listeners are, that's a way to start getting tax deductions that you may have never thought you'd possibly get. You start an at-home business that you use your cell phone on, you use your Wi-Fi, you've got a home office. All of a sudden, those things are open to be deductible on your taxes next year when you may have only had a business that makes, a few thousand a year. It doesn't really matter, but it's something that you wanted to do anyway that's creating a little bit of side cash, and all of a sudden you gained a ton of deductions on the next tax return. And our CPAs love pitching that idea around here. It's a really
The tax deductions.
The tax deductions, they're all about that. So, and again, for people that are getting paid a salary, that's something they never thought about, because why would they? But for Mohammad and I, we're 1099 employees. That means we're commission based. So we are always looking for ways to get deductions on the purchases that we're going to make anyway. Other simple ideas, people, make YouTube videos all the time that go viral, that create a source of income. Blogs that start gaining a following, they start getting income. More our generation, since we're reaching out to millennials, you're going out of town, Airbnb your house. Or there's now the Airbnb of cars. Which one was that called? Torah or something?
I haven't even heard of this.
Yeah, where you, if you're going out of town, you can even rent your car out for a couple days and get money. So, my point being is that there are so many options out there that, the mass, people don't know that they can do to start gaining their wealth and really start increasing their net worth.
Right. And it goes back to diversifying your streams of income.
Absolutely.
Because it's really risky and stressful to rely on one source of income, whether it be your job or whatever, Social
Absolutely.
Security, whatever it is, however old you are, and however this relates to you.
And it's a scarcity mindset, that ends up scaring people into, okay, I've all of a sudden my financial advisor said that we're hitting a market crash. Is my job safe or my investment safe? Well, again, if you had, a couple real estate properties, you had an at-home business making you a few thousand a year, and, maybe you put your house on Airbnb, you would be a lot less concerned than maybe your neighbor that has none of those things in place prepared for such an event. So I think that's very important to think about whenever people really want to attain financial freedom. And I think it causes a lot of emotional distress, around the house. We actually have an in-office counselor, Tom McClure, who's amazing at what he does. And what all he does is come into the meeting that we have with a husband and wife. Maybe their kids are there. We do a lot of generational planning. And at first, he'll kind of sit back and understand the tone of the room, and then he'll kind of lead people away from the arguments that they may have about money or the uncertainty. And that, I can't tell you guys how much of an effect that has on people and how appreciative they are at the end of the day, just to have someone that understands the emotion behind the money and not just, this is a piece of paper that we use to buy stuff with.
And we were in a meeting with Tom McClure last month, and he said something pretty profound. He said, when it comes to people and emotions, you move toward pleasure and you move away from pain. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Not to throw a curveball at you, Connor, but this is what I see the problem with passive investing. You have to save now and sacrifice consumption today for these benefits. So why should people stop saving right now for the future?
So I don't know if it's necessarily about stopping saving. I just think it's moving what you have saved into a different vehicle that's going to spit off income. And what's actually a great example now, you brought that up, is one of the partners I work with almost daily is Bruce Wayner. And one of the questions we deal with a little bit closer to retirees typically. One of the questions he always asks is, would you rather know that the bulk of money that you've made is there to spend, but you don't know how much you can spend on a yearly basis or, anything, but you've got this bulk of money? Or would you rather have guaranteed income coming in your door every single month when you hit retirement so you don't have to worry about money anymore? And I promise you guys, 99% of the time, everybody says they would rather have income coming in the door rather than know that they've amassed, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million that they aren't sure how much they can spend on it because they don't know how long they'll be alive for. So the point being is, if we can do that today, it's not necessarily about, building up your savings account. It's what's in your savings account. Let's go do something with that. I'm not saying you've got to go invest it in the market, or give it to a financial advisor. I'm saying, what are you passionate about and what can guarantee you income so that regardless of what curveballs life throws at you, you're ready to go and you've got the money coming in the door.
Exactly. Let's put our money to work for us.
Absolutely.
Rather than having it sit in the bank and letting them profit from it instead of us.
It looks pretty in the bank. You see that number and you get excited, but what is that number doing for you other than just making you feel better. It's not spending off income, and that's where the difference between the people that, the 1% and the rest of us, yeah, they may have jobs that pay them more and stuff, but I promise a lot of their income isn't even coming from their day-to-day job. They have multiple sources of income out there,
right,
ready to go. So we just really want to hit on that.
And that goes back to this whole idea. I don't know if you've read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about, let's accumulate assets that are going to take care of us.
Exactly.
Rather than having this nest egg of cash in the bank that once we spend isn't going to do anything for us after.
Absolutely. And I think it's all about changing, the mindset and the status quo of what's been, around for generations. I mean, a lot of people probably haven't told our listeners this, or very many people probably don't know those statistics out there about the ultra wealthy. And I doubt it's that anybody's trying to hide it from the public. I think it's that people just haven't been curious and haven't wanted to know. And I think now with our, the millennial generation and social media and the speed of technology and information, I think now that's becoming so much more relevant that people want to know why do the rich have more money than me, and what are they doing differently from me? And guys, I mean, this is one of the secrets right here. If you can start today, start looking at real estate properties, start looking into credit cards that give you the most money rewards. Start Airbnb-ing your house out. Just those little changes to your everyday lifestyle can be monumental in the future.
Right. And you know what? That's the beauty of today. Information is accessible and it's easy.
Absolutely.
So if you're just curious, you can find out what you can do and what your options are. But
exactly.
the important part is being curious.
Perfect.
So just to wrap it up, we threw a lot at the people,
as we did on the first one.
Yeah, we like to go on tangents sometimes. Let's do a quick summary. So, Connor, what is financial freedom to you?
So financial freedom is essentially being able to sleep well at night because you have reached a level that money will be coming in the door no matter what life throws at you. Again, that doesn't mean being completely debt-free. That doesn't mean having the 7 sources of income that the wealthy have. I just think that we need to be okay with where you're at and know that, God forbid something happens, that you will still be able to do the things to survive on a day-to-day basis.
And just to reiterate, we want to diversify our streams of income, like Connor said. And what are a couple quick ways, just to recap, of passive investing that we can utilize?
Easy. Just, real estate, get into a partnership with, a friend that's making a business, maybe a restaurant. Rent your house out to Airbnb, start doing blogs. I mean, anything that really you either don't have to put any effort in and you'll still get a paycheck, or at least don't have to put a ton of effort in order to bring income in the door aside from your day-to-day job.
Awesome. Well, I think with that said, we can wrap it up. We want to thank you guys again for listening to our podcast, all you millions and billions of people that are listening right now. We're going to keep pumping out podcasts if the reception is still great like it has been. We appreciate your guys' time.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any topics they'd like us to talk about, please let us know, and we'll be sure to hit it on the next one. Thanks, guys. Information provided on this podcast is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. A financial professional must have a complete understanding of someone's financial picture in order to advise and act in their best interest. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. Neither NPC, the host of this show, or any guest accept any liability for the use of this information discussed. E3 Consultants Group and NPC are separate and unrelated entities. Please consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action.